These are the 5 most important things you need to know before you start renting your car out on Turo. Today, I'm going to give you some insider tips that I think you should know that I've learned on my experience throughout renting my cars on the Turo platform. So if you've been thinking about renting your car out on Turo, or maybe already are, you definitely want to tune into this entire video because I'm going to give you the 5 most important things that you need to know to be successful as a host on the Turo platform. And if you stick around to the end, I might just drop a bonus gem in there for you as well. The first thing you need to know is that you can't have any emotional attachment to these vehicles. At this point, you have to understand your vehicle is just another form of making money, something like an ATM for you. And now it's not a sentimental value piece or something that you have to or should be personally attached to. That means you have to understand people aren't going to treat your car the same way that you would as they rent it. A lot of times people can be somewhat careless when they rent cars, whether it be things like small scratches or dings or small spills inside the car, even things like smoking or just odors that aren't yours in the car are all elements of renting that you're going to have to get used to if you want to be successful as a host and continue to make more and more money on this platform. The more you understand that overall wear and tear is going to happen when you rent your cars out, the better you'll be in the long term, and the better your mindset will be to get you over these small barriers as they happen along your journey. So don't let them discourage you. If anything, focus on the fact that now your vehicle is making you money and you've turned it to an ATM and things are going to happen. You just have to take them in stride, provide the solution, and move on. The second thing, which could also be the most important thing you need to know, is that photos and documentation are going to be key before and after every trip that you execute on the Turo platform. So when things like damage claims and reimbursements come up for your vehicles in your rental car business, Turo is pretty much going to use the documentation that you provide before and after the trips, as well as the guest pictures if they provide any, to make the overall decision as to who's responsible for paying the damage or if you get reimbursed for the damage yourself. Turo is not going to cover anything that they can't see pre-trip documentation or photos of if you have clear visible evidence that there wasn't any damage or there wasn't any spills or whatever your claim is wasn't present before the renter got the vehicle. You're pretty much going to be in the clear to get reimbursed every time. So to sum it up, you need to be taking at least between 30 to 60, if not more, pictures before and after each trip. You need to take pictures of every part of the vehicle. This means mirrors, windshields, under the hood, in the trunk, every area of the interior as well as the exterior, because once again, if there is any damage to a space on the vehicle that you didn't have pre-trip photos of, Turo is not going to reimburse you if something happens to that during the renter's trip. So make sure you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed when it comes to pre and post-trip documentation. This is very important being a host on Turo. So the next most important thing you need to know about renting your car out on Turo are the specific coverage plans that they'll be offering you as a host. There are 4 or 5 coverage plans that Turo offers overall, but there are only 2 that I really suggest, especially as new host, using when you come onto the Turo platform. And those are the 60 plan and now the 75 plan. What these numbers represent is the amount of revenue that you get from the overall profit of the rental cars. Hence, the 60 plan means you'll get 60% of the overall rental car profit and Turo gets 40%, where the 75 plan means you get 75% of the profit and Turo takes their share of 25%. But also a big difference in between these 2 plans are the deductibles. So these plans also set the limits of insurance that you're covered for when it comes to damage, or at least the deductible, that is. So the 60 plan is the most coverage. Hence, you get the least amount of percentage of share, which is 60% compared to their 40%. But a good thing with this plan is there is no deductible in terms of a damage claim. If someone does get in an accident and you have to get repairs, when that reimbursement comes back, there is no upfront deductible that you have to pay Turo that comes out of that reimbursement money. As opposed to the 75 plan, yes, you get 75% of the profit share, but when it comes to any damage reimbursement claims, Turo is going to charge you $250 for a deductible. What that means is any money that comes back in the form of damage compensation, there is already going to be $250 deducted from it. If the damage claim is only for $200, and you're on a 75 plan, you're actually not going to get anything in form of a reimbursement. Conversely, if the damage reimbursement is $1,000 and you're on a 75 plan, you're going to get $750 in return, as opposed to no deductible with the 60 plan. Deciding which one is right for you between the two is just really up to you, and if you want to pay a deductible or not, or if that extra 15% from the 60 plan to the 75 plan outweighs paying $250 deductible in case of damage. But overall, understanding these coverage plans is super important being a host on the platform, because not only does it dictate the amount of profit share you get, but it also dictates the amount that you'll get back in the form of damage reimbursement. Overall though, you have to know as a Turo host that as long as you follow these steps, once again going back to great photo documentation, these coverage plans are going to cover you in case any damage happens when the guest has your vehicle out on trips. The next important thing that I want you to know as a new host on Turo is that any vehicles you rent out on the platform, you need to have a GPS tracker and kill switch device installed on every vehicle before you rent it. A GPS kill switch device is exactly as the name states. It is a third-party device that you can buy and get installed into your vehicles, which ultimately is going to give you the control of knowing the location of your vehicles at all time, and most importantly, allowing you to remotely shut it down in case of any type of an emergency that you need to go get it while it's out on a trip or just not in your possession. This is a really important factor of renting your car out on Turo, because for many new hosts, the biggest challenge or barrier is not knowing what's going on with your car, or just ultimately raising your anxiety of what's going on or if somebody may steal your car. So what the GPS tracker and kill switch device does is just give you back control as a host. You can always know where the car is. If the renter does not bring the car back in timely fashion, if they try to steal it, or you just need to go get it for any reason, the kill switch portion of the device will allow you to actually shut the car down from your app so that the car cannot be started with the key or a remote. And now it is just shut down until you go get the vehicle and enable it again from the app. This keeps the power in your hands as a Turo host and a fleet owner, and just ensures that you always have control of your vehicles in case anything happens. This is an essential component of every successful rental car fleet, and a point that you don't want to skip over and take the risk of not installing in your vehicles. Now we're on tip number 5, and this is also a big one that gets slept on a lot. And what tip number 5 is going to be is that you want to start an emergency fund. An emergency fund is just a side account that I would suggest you put at least 10 to 15% of your Turo profits into every month. This is just going to be a pot of money that you put to the side that is solely dedicated to things like updating your cars with inspections, stickers, repairs, even vacancy. You can also use this to pay tickets that you'll have to pay up front when you get them back in the mail from renters. Ultimately, you want to use this account to have money solely dedicated for emergencies that may come up with your vehicle, to pay out-of-pocket expenses so that you don't have to go into your personal accounts. An emergency fund truly builds the foundation for your car rental business and just adds an extra layer of protection in case anything happens. Alright, so you still here with me, which means I obviously been dropping a few gems, and you guys want to know what that extra last bonus tip is. So before we move forward, make sure you all hit that like and subscribe button so we get this information out to more bag chasers like yourself, and we can all secure this bag in the car rental space. All right, let's get it. Let's get into this last tip. So the last thing that I want you to know as a Turo host is that your listing location matters. Location is key when it comes to the demand and supply of your rental car business. The location that you actually put in the listing of your car is going to be very important, because it's going to dictate what area of renters get to see your vehicle listing in the search results. This means that if your listing location is downtown in a populated area, or is close to an airport, or is just close to big amenities that a lot of people or travelers are frequent to, your vehicle listing is going to be more likely to show up when they go search for rental cars. As opposed if your listing location is somewhere in the suburbs or just in an isolated area where there may not be a lot of other vehicle rentals or a lot of people looking, there's not going to be a lot of eyes on that actual vehicle listing. From my personal experience, I've seen that when I listed my vehicle closer to locations like the airport or train stations, I'm a lot more likely to get renters that are traveling or just coming into the city. But when my vehicles are located either closer to my residential area or sometimes in the county areas, not in the city, a lot of times those renters are just casual individuals from the area who may just be getting work done on their cars or may not have a car and need to run some errands. So when you do go to list a vehicle and choose a location, I would suggest putting it, of course, closer to the airport, closer to the train stations, because then you're going to get more travelers who are going to be renting the cars just to get around in the city. And a lot of times I've seen that those are the better renters. They treat your vehicle a bit better, and those trips just go a lot more smoothly. So just making sure you're putting your vehicle location in a center area or just around travel locations so you can get, you know, really good renters. So once you apply all these great tips to your rental car business, you're going to be in an excellent position to be successful long term and really start bringing in cash flow month after month. I appreciate you all watching this video, and make sure you stay tuned in for future bag drops. And until then, make sure you secure that bag.